With all these executive orders happening, all these talks of funding freezes and tariffs and the list goes on, I think it would be good to do a video on how these particular tariffs will affect small businesses, because we know how they're going to affect consumers, but like, how is this going to work for those of us who actually have small businesses and rely on, manufacturers from overseas, and how these tariffs are going to actually impact us and what industries are going to be the most affected. So let's get into this. Let's figure this out together. I'm Valerie with Finance Tea if you're new here. I post videos giving all the tea on personal finance. So if you like that kind of stuff, give me a like, subscribe, comment, whatever you want. So let's get into it. Now, so President Trump, of course, as we all know, announced that he would impose an additional 10% tariff on China, 25% tariffs on Mexico and Canada. Okay. And so this is, a lot of hoopla is going on around this, and we're trying to figure out what the impact of this is going to be. Now, we just found out as of February 4th that China plans to retaliate against the US for the tariffs, right? And the specifics on the way that they're going to retaliate and what all that entails is not quite clear, but we do have some insight into that. And so let me get into that really quick, because a lot of small businesses depend on Chinese manufacturers for their products. So this is going to be an impactful thing. So China imposed targeted tariffs on US imports on Tuesday and put several companies, including Google, on notice for possible sanctions. In a measured response to the sweeping duties on Chinese imports imposed by President Trump. Capital Economics, a UK-based research firm, estimated that China's additional tariffs would apply to about $20 billion of annual imports, compared with the $450 billion worth of Chinese goods subject to the Trump tariff that took effect on Tuesday. Now, how do these tariffs affect small businesses? Some of you watching may have a small business. I myself have a small business, or I'm starting to, working on starting a business. So how do these tariffs affect us? And what industries are going to be the most affected by this? And will it be all that bad? Is there a silver lining to all of this that maybe some people aren't really looking at? Possibly some, beacon of hope that we have in this whole situation, without making it too political, please. Okay. I'm not going to be going into all that stuff, but we have to kind of look into the silver lining. How are we going to benefit from these things that are happening? What is the bigger picture here? So let's get into it. So first, let's see which industries are going to be the most affected. The first one is food. Mexico and Canada supply a significant share of several key food categories. For example, Mexico is the largest supplier of fruits and vegetables in the US, while Canada leads in exports of grain, livestock, and meats, poultry, and more. Agricultural products from Mexico and Canada in particular could become more expensive for consumers, as grocery retailers operate on thinner profit margins than most industries, with little room to absorb higher tariff costs. The grocers may have to pass these costs on to the shoppers. Obviously, that's exactly what they're going to do, right? So if you're in the food business, most likely it's going to, the cost for your materials for your foods, your grains, your ingredients are going to probably go up. Fuel and energy is the next industry that's going to be affected by these tariffs. The U.S. imported $97 billion worth of oil and gas from Canada last year. Didn't even know that. That country's top export to the U.S. And which is crazy, because I thought syrup was the largest export from Canada. I had no idea Canada sent oil and gas to us. I have no idea. It shows how much I know. The US has become more reliant on Canadian oil since the expansion of Canada's Trans Mountain Pipeline, according to data from the US Energy Information Administration. That's very interesting. Didn't know that. The tariff on Canadian energy products is only 10%, not the 25% tariff that was announced on other Canadian exports. So the good thing is the oil is only 10%, for the tariff, but it's still an increase. That'll limit the impact on gasoline prices. And so I guess that's a good way to look at it. So if you are if you own a, gas station, then it goes without saying, it's going to go up. Cars and car parts is another industry that's going to be affected. The U.S. imported $87 billion worth of motor vehicles and $64 billion worth of vehicle parts from Mexico last year. It's a lot of the things that we have here in the States is imported from other places, which is a huge issue. But again, the silver lining is coming. Hold your horses for that one, okay? Another industry that's affected by this is beer and alcohol. Really? I guess it's kind of like goes without saying, it's not recession proof, folks. It's not recession proof, okay? Because we can't like drown our sorrows about these high tariffs with beer anymore for cheap, right? It's going to cost us. We can't drown our sorrows with cheap beer anymore. The result would be a stiff penalty on some of America's favorite libations, including tequila, which can be made only in Mexico, and the #1 beer brand in the nation, Modelo. Another industry being affected by this is home construction and furniture. The list just keeps going on. It just keeps getting larger and larger. The framing, roofing, and siding consist of softwood lumber. Of course it does. And 30% of what the U.S. uses annually comes from Canada. That's going to make home prices, the cost of building, go up even more than it already has. Another industry affected by these crazy tariffs is electronics, toys, and appliances. Consumer electronics are among the top goods the U.S. imported from China last year, according to federal trade data. That includes cell phones, TVs, laptops, video game consoles, monitors, and all the components that power them. China also is a major supplier of home appliances. Those, along with toys and footwear, are particularly exposed to Trump's tariff threats. Footwear too. That's another thing that I didn't even know China imported to us a lot. So the silver lining, let's talk about it. Let's figure this out, guys. Let's figure out what we're gonna do about this whole thing. Okay, so is there a silver lining to this? Is there something that we can actually glean from this that can give us some perspective, maybe? Some U.S. businesses may benefit from tariffs, actually. And that's only if they lead to a shift in production to the U.S. As foreign-made products become more expensive due to tariffs, domestic manufacturers may find it more profitable to produce goods locally. This could potentially lead to job creation and economic growth in some sectors. I think there's a window of opportunity for those of us who are really good at DIYing. If you know how to make stuff from scratch, and not just food, but things that, you can source the materials from natural resources here in America. For the rest of us who source products from China, we may see an increase in the cost of goods from the manufacturers. Even if it's something that may not be, just like directly affected by these tariffs, the actual materials to create these things are most likely going to be affected, like we just talked about. But the impacts of all of this is still left to be unseen, because again, we don't really know how China is going to come back and retaliate against the US for this. But hey, here's hoping. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Let me know in the comments how you feel about these tariffs and if it's going to affect you and your small business. If you like content like this, subscribe, help your girl out. And until next time, y'all, bye.